Sierra Economic Development Corporation is a private nonprofit. And in response to your question directly about how should nonprofits act, are the same principles that Jerry presented to us applicable? And the answer is absolutely. The landscape for nonprofit management started changing about a dozen years ago. By 5 years ago, interestingly corresponding to the leading edge of the current adjustment that we're in, if the nonprofits had not figured out that they need to operate just like a for-profit company, they're not around anymore. Because the way it was done, business as usual, it can't be done now. Many of the resources have dried up. And that simply means that there's greater competition for those traditional resources. So if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, then you ought to go down Jerry's list exactly as he said, start with a business plan, and include within your consideration for that business plan the provision for self-sustainment. What is your nonprofit, serving whatever purpose that may be, going to also do something that's going to sustain itself? And I caution you about being naive. Yes, most nonprofits are altruistic. They have a worthwhile purpose. It's one of those different metrics that was referred to earlier. But the bottom line is the bottom line. And if you can't sustain it, then that good that you can do will be nice for as long as it lasts, but then when you go out of business, it won't be available to be good anymore. The only difference in today's world between a for-profit company and a nonprofit company is that when you got more money than you need in a nonprofit, it's called surplus revenues, not profit. That's the only difference. If I were to convey one message right now, and it's a message, a drum I've been beating since November of last year, it would be this: get your head up and start looking around. Now, the reason I say that, we've surveyed 430 businesses in 2 years, the first half of last year, the first half of this year, and among the questions we asked that were designed to try and determine whether they were on the brink of failure was whether they anticipated borrowing any money in the next 12 months. A year ago, the answer was 98%, fairly statistically significant, no. Clear message there, right? You all get that message. I'm hunkered down in my foxhole. I'm just in the survival mode. I'm not taking on any risk. I'm not borrowing any money. We asked the same series of questions this year, and the response rate was still about 90%. But there's a little difference there. And the difference is that there were a few percent of these businesses that we surveyed who recognized that in adversity there is opportunity. Yeah, we've been through a heck of a shakeout, an adjustment, whatever the right term is here. And in places like El Dorado County, I've watched the most fascinating shell game going on of businesses moving up in the real estate world, you know. And the only ones left holding the bags are the ones who had the worst real estate to begin with, and I'm hopeful that they will figure that out and come look for some money to improve their properties so they can get in on the game. But we've got businesses now, they're moved into much larger square footage, better square footage, better exposure, and they're paying less than what they did before. That same kind of spirit needs to be transferred to every potential consideration. So if you're in business now, and you've been worried about, oh, woe is me, and all I can think of is how to survive, somehow, some way, you've got to find within yourself the courage and the strength to look beyond that and see what opportunity may present itself, because they're out there. Jerry was dead right about this is just an adjustment. We've had precedent in this before in the early 30s. There were some businesses who saw the opportunity, seized the opportunity, and I assure you the resources are there. Is it a tight money market? Yep, talk to any banker. They'll tell you about how they raised the floors for their loans. They really haven't raised their interest rates, but they've done something interesting in that they don't provide any fixed rate financing anymore. It's all adjustable. So be very careful about the terms. That's why Jerry said be sure the lawyers are there before you sign the paperwork. And of course, that raising their floor means they don't want to make a $20,000 loan. They don't want to make a $50,000 loan. They don't really want to make a $150,000 loan, but there are others who do. We make loans between $1,000 and $250,000, and when it's a deal we can't make, we look around to a big partnership group, and I hope Jerry's going to be a part of that as well. We don't see them often, but occasionally we see that deal that says, this is bigger than I can handle, but this may be something that Jerry and other angels like him would be very interested in doing, and if not, maybe they'll get together as a part of a venture group, and collectively they'll do it. I was approached about one yesterday, Jerry, for $300 million. We may need to talk. I assure you I can't do that. So, get your head up, look for the opportunity, and then act like a business. And I'll add one more point here then. The number one challenge that we face with entrepreneurs and even small business operators who are in business right now is that they know their business very well. Okay? They know how to mow lawns or place concrete or write software or whatever it may be. But unfortunately, we all too often find that they don't understand the business of business. Business speaks its own language. And successful entrepreneurs and business operators have got to accept that and learn that. Like Jerry said about making a compelling case, part of that is financials that make sense and business owners who understand their financials. That business plan that Jerry said they need is absolutely right, but it's a business plan to manage their business, not just to give their prospective financial people. We say you make the plan first to manage your business, and then if you manage your business and you're hitting your marks, money follows good ideas. And money follows, meaning chases, good ideas. So with that, get your head up. Tell others, get your head up. Part of this is an attitudinal problem. Okay, we've had a hit. It's been ugly. There's opportunity out there. Let's carpe diem, eh?